Good morning. Yeah, streaming. Where's my? Oh, I don't need a controller. Streaming during the day. Hopefully, some USA friends will come in. Usually, I'm sleeping. No, no. Usually, yeah. Usually, I'm sleeping while they're streaming. No, I'm not. Usually, I'm streaming while they're sleeping. Uh, gonna play a game today that I just thought looked goofy. Um, which is called Return of Red Riding Hood Enhanced Edition, and I had some uh sort of points left on my Epic store, so got it for free. Let's have a look. Hope it's as goofy as it looks. Just loading it up now, sorry. Bit of waiting music. What? Well, I just updated my Epic stuff this morning and still updating. It's updating again. Luckily, no one is viewing, so it doesn't matter. What are you doing? Gonna load? Just thinking. What dependencies? Don't tell me Epic is down. Let me just do some juggling. No, I don't think so. But it is doing something weird. Come on. It was literally working like 10 minutes ago. Oh, here we go. Oh, okay. Wait, what? Yep, good. Alright, looks like it's loaded. And turn that off, turn that on, and leap. Good. Is there supposed to be sound? My headphones on? Yeah, they were. Okay, let's have a look at this. Returning Red Riding Hood Enhanced Edition. English, please. Yep. Nice. Loud. Might just turn that down a fraction. Am I missing important story? Yeah, I was. Can't do without a story for one evening. Tomorrow you'll have your mother and her stories back. No, I can't fall asleep that way, the girl began to whisper. Please read it to me. Okay, grumbled her older brother, who was sitting on the edge of the bed. Just don't cry. Which tale do you want? Red Riding Hood. Fine, here we go. Won't you get the book? It's in the bookcase on the lower shelf. What for? I remember the story. Listen. In one village, there was a little girl so lovely that no other girl was her equal. Her mother loved her to distraction, and her grandmother loved her even more. Like, goofy face. For her birthday, her grandmother presented her with a red hood. The girl always wore her new smart hood every day. Sorry, I just realized that the sound that I can control with my keyboard. It turns it up on the PC, but it also turns it up and down on the stream. So I can turn it down in my headphones. And I can just balance it with this. Very cool. Okay, got the hood. The neighbors would say, there goes Red Riding Hood. Once her mother decided to bake some pastries, but she wasn't sure what filling to choose. Cool. Pastries, huh? Can they afford meat? We're gonna go with cabbage, like Charlie Bucket. Mother went down to the cellar and found the last salt hunchback salmon. Wait, I said cabbage. It lies here for a long time, thought the woman. I'll take some meat, perhaps not. Remaining piece is too small. There are dozens of apples. Nah, I'm already sick of them. Is there cabbage left? Oh, okay. That plays into what I chose. Music is chaos. What's she... Are they onions? What's she doing? Mother came up to a large crate and lifted bagging. Still, there were a couple of cabbage heads. The matter with feeling was solved, and woman got down to business. Jeez. Made pastry, chopped cabbage. In 2 hours, browned and flavoured pastries were ready to be put in the basket. I am making fun of the translation, but that's because it's funny. But I appreciate that, you know, someone can be multilingual. I definitely can't speak any other languages. Why don't you, my little Red Riding Hood, go visit your granny, bring her a pot of butter, and find out if she is fine? Why is this Karen living in the bush? And Red Riding Hood replies, you better bring it yourself, because I don't feel well myself. Mother took the presents and set out for Granny's place. She was walking slowly down the road, inhaling fresh forest air, and enjoying the warm sunlight, without noticing that the wolf was following her tracks. It was his cautious nature that hindered Wolf not only to attack, but even to speak to an adult person. All the more, a group of woodcutters was working nearby. Then the beast, restored to cunning, distinctly discerning Mother's scent on the road, he turned and went in the opposite direction, hoping that there might be someone weaker back at her home. Oh no. Soon Wolf found Mother's house and knocked on the door. Who is that? Asked Red Riding Hood. It's your neighbour. Well, I know that he's not the neighbour, so I feel like I have some insight. Come in! So after saying these words, Red Riding Hood unbolted the door without even asking neither the name of the visitor nor his purpose. That was exactly what the wolf wanted. He broke into the house in a flash, frightening the daylight out of Red Riding Hood. Kiss life goodbye. Predator was coming towards her. The Predator's in this? The girl closed her eyes tight. Wolf attacked her and swallowed. After satiating himself, the beast returned to the forest to take a nap. Bread roll on a fork. By the time the woman reached the grandmother, they sat down to have tea with pastries, making chit-chat. She doesn't look like a grandmother, she just looks like a sickly woman. After they finished their tea, Mother placed the remaining pastries for the basket into a bowl, but the butter pot was taken down to the cellar. Oh, I'm just going to move my keyboard. Let's move the mic over a little bit and move the mouse in, because I don't think I need the keyboard. The butter pot was taken down to the cellar, and then she quickly went home. And arrived before it got dark. Ending. Don't open to strangers. The girl was silent. When her brother noticed that she was about to cry, he hurried to start the story anew. Oh my god. After thinking a little, the brother began to tell a new story. In one village, there was a little girl so lovely that no other girl was equal. Yeah, okay. She's loved. She's got the Red Riding Hood. There goes Red Riding Hood. Red Riding Hood. What's the hat? The mother wanted to bake pastries. This time with the... We'll go with cabbage again. Went down to the cellar and put the bread rolls in the basket. Why don't you go? This time I'm going to go. Red Riding Hat slowly strolled along the trail. The weather was great. In fact, it was beyond great. The sun's rays made the air burning hot, and all of the birds and animals are hiding somewhere out of the heat. The girl also wanted to take a rest in the shade, as she was walking for a long time through the sweltering forest. Dirty big blowfly. Do not turn off the trail. Wishing not to waste time, Red Riding Hood forced herself to keep walking. The sun seemed to scorch stronger with every minute. The girl's face turned red, her mouth turned dry, and her hair adhered to her sweaty forehead. Pastries at such heat weren't safe either. Well, it's cabbage, so it shouldn't be too bad. As a result, a rest in the shade was of vital necessity. Red Riding Hood turned off the trail, and when she spotted a branchy spruce, headed right to it. She made herself comfortable under the thick crown, ate a pastry with cabbage, and then leaned against the wide trunk. Red Riding Hood enjoyed the quiet and coolness of her shelter, and didn't notice when she fell into a doze. She never had such a wonderful sleep. Oh no. She woke up at night because her entire body became numb. She's having sleep paralysis? Whoa. The sound is horrific. Oh my god. Being half awake, the girl could not immediately orientate herself as to where she was and what was going on. But little by little, she reconstructed via a memory her last events, and it became clear that she laid under a tree until it became dark. I have to get away from this screaming bird. She looked around, trying to find the trail, when she suddenly felt her heart skip a beat. In the thickening shadows, one could hardly discern anything. The girl had no idea where to go. I'm gonna... I'll wait until dawn. What happened to her face? Red Riding Hood pondered correctly. If she moved not too far from the path, it would be easy to find when the sun rose. The girl clambered up the spruce and found herself in safety among the branches. She waited for morning while occasionally eating pastries. There's not going to be any cabbage pastries left. Ah, thank goodness that creepy music's over. It's hard to read. The night passed quietly, and when the sun arose, she looked down and saw her trail. When she climbed down, she cheerfully ran along the trail. After this giant butterfly. Joy was filling her heart. Once again, she stayed alive and unharmed. In addition, she left the forest without getting lost. She walked along the path, admiring every flower and every butterfly. One of them was especially large and bright-coloured. That is especially large, if the perspective is correct. Red Riding Hood wanted to look closely at it, but the insect took wing off the chamomile it was resting on and flew into the forest. Yeah, let's go have a look at this butterfly. Red Riding Hood wouldn't learn from her own mistakes. She chased after the butterfly gradually, flitted from one flower to another, luring her in. Then the girl saw another butterfly that was even more colourful and pretty than the previous one, and chased after it too. When Red Riding Hood chased butterflies enough to her heart's content, she decided to return to the trail. She walked on and on, back in the direction she thought she came from, but the trail would not appear. Maybe I'm going the wrong way, thought the little girl, and turned in another direction. Later, she shifted directions a few more times and dashed around the forest like a brought-to-bay animal. She certainly was lost, but could not admit it. When it was getting darker, she stopped and began to cry. Of course, it was useless to panic, and Red Riding Hood managed to pull herself together and decided to struggle to the end. Over the next few days, she followed a strategy. During the day, she marched, trying to find any trail that could lead her to people, and spent the nights up in trees. She drank dew and ate berries. Thank God the forest was full of both this time of year. But by the end of the third day, Red Riding Hood hardly could shuffle her feet. She ran out of strength, and it was extremely difficult to climb a tree by the end of the day. Oh no. For a long time, the little girl gazed through the branches with thick needles at the full moon, listening to sounds of the night forest until she fell into a deep sleep. Good picture. She woke up in the morning. The sun had just appeared in the horizon. Some extraneous shrilly sounds were bringing about confusion into the usual monotonous forest life. The half-awake girl tried to figure out who or what was making such a familiar noise. Trumpets? That's it, axe chopping, she almost screamed. And somewhere close, not too far from her, she began to rotate her head left and right, trying to get down off the tree. But after a night of resting on hard bark, her whole body became numb, and her stiffened muscles wouldn't obey. But Red Riding Hood paid no attention to her aches and kept trying to get down. Be quick, were Red Riding Hood's internal words to herself, worrying that magical sound would disappear or turn out to be a dream. Her breathing became more rapid, and her hands shivered as she tried to move quickly. After a few seconds, the chopping noise really subsided. I don't think I can read. It's my excuses at night. Either it's too late and now it's too early in the morning for me to read. Can I read at any time during the day? The answer is no. Believing her ears betraying her. See, there you go. Yeah. The girl was really ready to burst into tears, but her body slowly began to bend uncontrollably to the right. She grabbed the branches even tighter, but it didn't save her from falling, and falling fast. Ah! A desperate cry mixed with the crackle of broken branches and leaves rustling filled the forest. Scared by the cry, a woodcutter ran up to the tree he just cut, and spotted a small girl among the branches. Despite a few scratches, she turned out to be alive and almost unharmed. Well, that's awesome. The kind woodcutter asked Red Riding Hood where she lived and brought her back to the house, which was easy for him to find. As a person of his trade, he knew the forest like the palm of his hand. Woodcutter Savior. That's a good ending. Is that the right story, Red Riding Hood? Of course. Mother just read a shortened version to you. I see. Maybe you'll tell me one more time so I can remember it. Again. After thinking a little, the brother began to tell a new story. Alright. There's Red Riding Hood with a hat that is not a hood. And there's Karen, her mother. This time we're going to make apple pies. This year the apple harvest was immense. So choosing a filling was an easy decision to make. Her mother took the largest container she had and made dough with it. And she peeled and chopped a bunch of apples with Red Riding Hood. They shaped a lot of pastries and baked them for 2 days. Finally, when everything was ready, baked them for 2 days. Finally, when everything was ready, it was time to decide who would carry them. I will carry them. Well, am I Red Riding Hood, or am I just a viewer of the story? Or a teller of the story? Her mother said, "Why don't you, my little Red Riding Hood, go visit your granny? Bring her the pastries and a pot of butter and find out how she is." "Okay, Mum," replied Red Riding Hood. They took a large basket and filled it with pastries. Red Riding Hood grabbed the heavy presents and dragged herself towards the exit. Her mother saw that the load was too heavy for her daughter and said, "It looks like the basket is too heavy. Maybe we should lighten the weight." Look at Red Riding Hood's face. She's never seen that many damn pastries in her life. Yeah, let's lessen the weight. They removed a portion of the pastries, and the girl finally set off to her grandmother's house. The lighter basket was easier to carry. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and the squirrels were moving to and fro. Everything was as usual, and her mood was good despite the exhaustion after 2 days of baking. Yeah, I'd say. She saw a beautiful butterfly sitting on the road. Oh no. Nah. Oh no. She suddenly met the wolf. Look at that wolf. Hello, girl, said the wolf. He was feeling his full supremacy. How do you do, sir? Asked Red Riding Hood. She looked at her interlocutor with curiosity. What is your name, and where are you going all alone? He continued the wolf. He stressed the word alone. What is your name, and where are you going all alone? Continued the wolf. My name's Red Riding Hood. I'm going to visit my granny and bring her some pastries and a pot of butter. My name is Wolf. Where does your grandmother live? She lives straight down the road, and when you get to the crossroads, you turn right. Then you take 20 steps and walk southeast. Like a treasure map. After that, take 30 more steps and turn right by the large anthill, but make sure the ants are red and not black. Am I going to have to remember this? As soon as you get to the 3 pines, not spruces, on the hill you turn left, then go straight to the edge of the forest and you'll see the house. Right at the crossroads, what? Red ants? And, wait, 20 steps? No, it's gone. Silence! The wolf was processing the information, like I was. Red Riding Hood made a suggestion to break the prolonged pause. Actually, you can take a short road directly through the forest, but I'm scared to go this way because there are no landmarks and trails. Goodbye, girl, said the wolf. After obtaining all the required information, the wolf immediately had decided to go to the old lady. Look at these lumberjacks. Sorry, I'm just going to have a little bit of coffee. Wolf ran on the short road. While running through the forest, the predator spotted the woodcutters. So now I'm the wolf. I'm going to go around. I don't want to be chopped. The wolf decided not to push his luck and went around. At the same time, the old lady was ravenous in her home on the edge of the forest. She was eager to eat pickled mushrooms. Cans with mushrooms were stored in the cellar, but there was a bowl with a few pieces on the table. Whoa, why is it stretched across the whole thing? He was too lazy to get fresh mushrooms from the cellar and ate the ones from the table taken the day before yesterday. Were they pickled? But they've been sitting there for 2 days. I'm hungry, so I might fall down the stairs. Fresh mushrooms, I think. The old lady remembered she ate mushrooms from the bowl yesterday, or the day before yesterday. In a nutshell, she didn't take the risk and went down to the cellar to take a new can of mushrooms. Suddenly, a wooden stick used to prop up the cellar cover broke, and the cover tumbled down with a clatter. Look at this sneaky wolf. Being locked up in the dark, the old lady didn't know what to do. In that moment, someone knocked on the door, but no sound could penetrate through the cellar. Wolf, because it was him, was already hammering on the door. He thought that no one was home, but didn't go away and walked the house around. His search was not in vain, for in the rear he found an open window that was easy to climb through. So the wolf didn't close the hatch. He was knocking on the door. Look how fluffy he looks. Inside the house, the great predator found an old lady's clothing, which he dressed himself in and went to bed. Soon, Red Riding Hood reached the hut. Knock, knock. Who is it? Asked the wolf, faking a weak, shaking voice. Who is it? It's me, your grandmother. It's granddaughter. It's like, whoa. It's me, your granddaughter. I brought you some pastries and butter. Wait, I will open the door. While Red Riding Hood was entering, Wolf returned to bed and he pulled the blanket up to his nose. It looks pretty cool. I don't like this pennular thing in the background here, the bedpost. Little Red Riding Hood came closer and asked, Grandmother, why are your ears so big? The better to hear you with, my dear. There. And why are your eyes so big? The better to see you with, my dear. And why are your teeth so big? They're for eating you up, my dear. And the wolf swallowed Red Riding Hood before she got the sense of his last words. This whole time, the old lady was sitting down in the cellar and didn't hear a thing. Wolf got away, and Granny was eating apples until Mother came and rescued her. Ending. Lucky accident. Well, lucky? You must be wrong. There has to be another ending, the little girl said with confidence. After thinking a little, the brother began to tell a new story. In one village, with the girl with the red hat was loved by her mum and her grandma, and she frolicked, and the neighbours would say, "There goes Red Riding Hood." Her mother, Karen, decided to eat pastries, but wasn't sure what filling to choose. I'm gonna go meat pastries this time. Mother checked the box room and went down to the cellar and found the last salt hunchback salmon from the last year's stock. It lies here for a long time, thought the woman. I'd better take a piece of meat, it looks much better. But the meat was frozen and she had to thaw it out first. Later, it was finally cut and fried with onions on a pan. When filling was cool enough, she got down to pastries shaping. Look at her eyes. She loves pastries as much as Red Riding Hood does. While pastries were in the stove, it was already late and Mother decided to visit Granny tomorrow. In the early morning, Mother woke Red Riding Hood and said to her, "Why don't you, little Red Riding Hood, go visit your granny, bring her a pot of butter and find out if she is fine?" And Red Riding Hood replies, "You'd better bring it yourself, because I don't feel well." This time Mother's going. Mother took the pastries and left. It was cool in the forest that day. It was drizzling, making the trail muddy and hard to walk. Her feet were sliding apart on the slush. Soon she got chilled and tired. But weight of a basket reminded her of appetizing contents. Eat a few pastries. She looks so disheveled. But she is down for those pastries. Mother ate one pastry, but she got chilled and tired, so she ate more. The basket became 3 or 4 pastries lighter. They looked like hefty pastries. Hey, you bastard! Wet and hungry, Wolf was scouring around not far away. He already smelled the scent of prey, which led him to the trail. Or better that he's stolen the pastries. When Wolf saw an adult human, he chickened out a little, but hunger forced him to talk to the traveller. "Hello, madam," said the wolf, chattering. "What is your—" "I don't talk to strangers," snapped Karen, because she was very tired. She had gotten wet and wanted to go home as soon as possible. Wolf began to tremble with malice, and even got hot. He wished to rush forward and swallow his prey, but he was afraid that after prolonged hunger, he wouldn't have enough strength, so he made another decision. He stepped aside, as if he was letting the woman go, and when she passed him, he snatched the basket and disappeared into the forest. Wolf was very hungry, but there were so few pastries, so it just excited his appetite. It was decided to have a certain rude wayfarer for lunch. Plus, it was easy to track her down. That does make a nice hat. Is that the end? Wolf's... Oh no. Yeah. Wolf sneaked up to the unsuspecting woman from behind and then attacked and devoured her. Ending wolf nature. You're telling it wrong. After thinking a little, the brother began to tell a new story. Imagine putting your little sister to bed and just talking shit about Red Riding Hood for hours while she's waiting to go to sleep. Okay, there's Red Riding Hood with a fancy hat. Mother wants to make some pastries. And Granny liked mushrooms. Let's see if we can get these mushrooms to Grandma. Lots of apples. Box room and cellar were filled with dried and soaked fruits together with jam, compote, and even syrup. Maybe I should use this for filling, the woman thought. But after the very thought of apples, she shuddered because everyone was fed up with it. Instantly, Mother remembered that Granny was fond of mushrooms. Yeah, I did remember that. So she chose it. She swiftly made pastry, fried mushrooms with onion, and baked brown flavoured pastries. Oh, this is making me hungry. When it got cold, she put them in a basket. Why don't you take them to Granny and some butter and yeah, okay, let's go. Red Riding Hood out for the day. She was an obedient child. She took the pastries with mushrooms and went on her way. The sun's bright warm rays, finding their way through the foliage, were giving birth to hundreds of sunlight spots. Birdies were twitting, butterflies flitting. Red Riding Hood was running skippingly along the path in a cheerful mood, but because of her bad luck in waking up later than usual, she had not had breakfast that day. And because of being outside in the fresh air, she felt hungry. Yeah, fresh air makes me hungry too. Just breathe it in. Do not eat the pastry. Responsibilities and honesty protected the little girl from taking even a single bite. She had to deliver all the pastries intact, but she could afford herself to have a little rest. Red Riding Hood sat on a stump that was in the shade of a branchy tree. It was much cooler there than on the path with the sun's blazing heat. It was the caressing warmth and sunlight, then slight wind blowing, that soon made Red Riding Hood grow languid. Gonna have to look that one up. And sleepy. And I was giving this game shit before for having bad English, but it has better English than I can understand. And filled her bozzy with pleasant drowsiness. The girl eventually closed her eyes as if to drift off for a nap. Suddenly, Wolf came out of nowhere. When Red Riding Hood heard the noise, she jumped up in a flash. "Hello, girl," started Wolf. "How do you do, mister?" said Red Riding Hood, looking at her interrogator with curiosity. "What is your name, and where are you going alone?" continued Wolf, stressing the word alone. "Alone. My name is Red Riding Hood. I'm going to visit my grandmother. My name is Wolf. Where does your granny live?" Go along the path. After okay, cool. Didn't have to go into the same details as before. After collecting all the required information, the beast departed to the mentioned address to get there before the girl did. Why would she tell the wolf where her grandma is? And she, after setting her hood straight, took the presents and slowly strolled to Granny's house. Is he kicking the door with his back leg? Wolf forestalled Red Riding Hood and reached the forest edge sooner. He jumped on the porch and knocked. Who is that?" a weak voice asked. "It's me, Red Riding Hood, your granddaughter," whispered the wolf, making his voice as tender as he could. "Oh, pull the string, my dear, and the door will open." Once the predator found himself inside the house, he promptly swallowed Granny. Unfortunate. Dressed up in her nightgown and put on her glasses and tumbled into bed. Soon Red Riding Hood reached Granny's hut. She hammered the door with her little fist. "Who is it?" The wolf tried to make his voice sound like a suffering granny. "Who is it?" "It's me, your granddaughter, Red Riding Hood. I bought pastries and butter." Coughed the wolf. "Pull the string, my dear, and the door will open." The girl entered, put her basket and pot on the table, and sat on the bed's edge to look at the old lady. "Grandmother, why are your ears so big?" "Oh, we know this. The better to hear you with, my dear." "And why are your eyes so big?" "The better to see you with, my dear." "Why are your teeth so big?" "For eating you up, my dear." Eaten. It's just chilling with a hat in his mouth. "Oh, it was a dream." When Riding Hood opened her eyes, panting, for a long time, she looked around trying to figure out what happened and where she was. A full moon shining in the sky, pines and spruces rose around her in the dark, and close to the stump she sat on was lying an empty basket, ending an awful dream. "No, that's not how it goes," said the surprised girl. "Let's see if we can get a proper Red Riding Hood end." After thinking a little, the brother began a new story. Here's Red Riding Hood, frolicking through the grass with her red riding hat. Yeah, Mum wants to make some pastries. We will. The traditional story, fish pastries. That's what it's known for. Look at this. Fish! Mother checked the box room, went down to the cellar, and found the last salt hunchback salmon from last year's stock. Oh, it's an old fish. In my cellar it can stay preserved for years. She grabbed the salmon and climbed up. She thoroughly extracted all bones from the fish and began shaping pastries, because the dough had already risen. Mother baked pastries and says to her daughter, "Why don't you, Little Red Riding Hood, go visit Granny? Bring her a pot of butter and find out if she is fine." Red Riding Hood replies. Okay, so Red Riding Hood has got to go. She's an obedient child. She took the fish pastries and went away. It's a nice day with the twitting and flitting. Red Riding Hood was running and skipping happily along the path because she was in a cheerful mood. She hadn't had breakfast. This time I'm going to have one pastry. I've got a whole basket of pastries. If I take one, no one will notice. I actually don't remember what happened in Red Riding Hood. Was there any pastries at all? Red Riding Hood ate a pastry. It was delicious. Oh no, the wolf. He came out of the bushes on the trail. He wanted to eat the girl immediately. But first, the sly boots decided to find out who she was and where she was going. "Hello, girl," said the wolf. He was feeling his full supremacy. "How do you do, sir?" asked Red Riding Hood. He looked at her interlocutor with curiosity. "What is your name and where are you going all alone?" continued the wolf. He stressed the word alone. "My name is Red Riding Hood. I'm going to visit my granny and some of her pastries and pot of butter. Oh yeah. My name is Wolf. Where does your grandma live?" "Don't know, don't..." The wolf wanted to know what stuffing was inside the pastries, but the wind altered its direction, and he smelled fish. He swallowed saliva and said, "Red Riding Hood, please let me taste one pastry." Well, he... treat Wolf with no pastry. He asked nicely. Red Riding Hood took one pastry from the basket and put it right into the wolf's open mouth. The music just stopped so suddenly there. After Wolf chewed it with pleasure, he expressed his thanks and went off. Red Riding... What? Oh no. Red Riding Hood continued her journey, but soon felt sick, and a few minutes later there was a rumbling in her stomach. Dropping her presents, the girl rushed back home. Oh no. The abandoned basket was soon found by... Why would you eat pastries that are just laying on the road? Look at these. It's like... That's not safe. They're all clowns. They're not real woodcutters. The abandoned basket was soon found by woodcutters. They were starving after a hard day's work and ate everything and drank warm butter. Drank the butter without caring about origin or expiration date of the product. It was child's play for them. Try yourself to eat with dirty hands in the forest for many years without soap and wipes. Okay. So they're fine. Because they wipe their asses and then eat. Wolf was heading towards the hut on the forest edge, but the eaten pastry exerted an aggressive effect upon the wolf's constitution, which changed his plans. Granny was left hungry, but everyone stayed alive and almost healthy. Ending. Good deed. The girl laughed. Yeah, I liked that one too. "You're making it even more interesting. I'm glad. Sleep now. Please, please, one more story." Alright. I'll read a few more stories. After thinking a little, the brother began to tell a new story. Here's Little Red Riding Hood, and her mother is going to make pastries with... I think I've made all of them now. We'll go back with the cabbage where I started. She said the salmon was too old, and the meat is too small, and there's too many apples, so she lifted bagging, and there was still a couple of cabbage heads. The matter with filling was solved, and the woman got down to business. Made pastry, chopped cabbage. In 2 hours, browned and flavored pastries were ready to be put in the basket. Red Riding Hood, go drop these off. So last time... Yeah, I took the mother. This time we'll take Red Riding Hood with the cabbage pastries. Another hot day. They were hiding out of the heat. All the animals were hiding out of the heat. The girl wanted to take a rest. This time, last time I didn't go off the trail, but she went off anyway, so I'll turn off the trail. She spotted a branchy spruce, headed right to it. She made herself comfortable under the thick crown. ate a pastry with cabbage, and then leaned against the wide trunk. It's a blowfly again. Red Riding Hood enjoyed a quiet coolness of her shelter and didn't notice. Okay, she's falling asleep. She woke up again. Oh no, not the spooky sounds again. After being half awake, the girl could not immediately orientate herself. Well, I can't read with that bird screaming in my ear. Yeah, so she fell asleep. She looked around, trying to find the trail. Suddenly, her heart skipped a beat. In the thickening shadows, one could hardly discern anything. The girl had no idea where to go. This time, I'm going to go at... oh, random. The very thought itself that she'd have to go home at night alone through the forest made her insides grow cold. But staying under the tree was even scarier, and she decided to go at random. She walked on and on, but the trail would not appear. Red Riding Hood intently looked into the darkness, and when she heard even a slight rustle, she rapidly looked around, but kept walking. Soon she had to admit she got lost. Fright tortured her heart. She looked up at the sky. It was coal black, with not a single star. All of a sudden, a branch crackled behind her. She rapidly turned around and turned pale from horror. 2 blue lights glowed inside the bushes. Her heart beat like mad. Her palms perspired, and both knees started knocking. She felt like someone was screaming, "Run, run!" inside her head, but her legs refused to obey. She stiffened, waiting for what happens next. A creature came out of the bushes with haste. Red Riding Hood could only make out a large dark silhouette, but suddenly the moon showed up behind the clouds, and its light revealed an enormous black wolf. She mentally said goodbye to her life. Unexpectedly, the wolf softly pronounced, "Hello, girl. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you. You'd better tell me why you were alone in the dark forest at night. Alone in the forest at night." Pulling herself together, Red Riding Hood said, "I got lost." "I can help you," said the wolf, looking at Red Riding Hood. He glanced down. His look stopped at the basket. "Do you have something to eat?" asked Wolf, bending his head to one side and looking right into the girl's eyes. After hearing these words, Red Riding Hood nearly fainted because she knew wolves don't eat cabbage. Oh no. But nevertheless, being kind and generous... Wait, I think a wolf would eat cabbage. A dog would eat cabbage. She automatically put the basket on the ground, stepped aside and whispered, "Only this." To her astonishment, Wolf ate everything with gusto. Afterward, he thanked her for the food and asked her to follow him to help with some business. Yeah, I want to see what wolf business this is. Wolf led Red Riding Hood to his den, where he's got a bookshelf. She was astonished to find it was a wicker hut. There was a massive table, a cupboard with books, and lots of shelves with boxes and bottles and boxes on them. Of course, everything was covered in a thick layer of dust. He could use his tail. Being puzzled and intrigued, the girl asked how she could help. Somehow, she wasn't afraid of this wild beast anymore. "There's a big brown book on the lower shelf in the cupboard. Take it," started the wolf. "Now open the last page. There's a recipe. Please make the potion according to it. All the ingredients you can find on these shelves." The recipe seems strange to Red Riding Hood. 25 drops of hair growth inhibitor lotion, 10 drops of valerian, 11 drops of flea killer, 9 elderberries, 1 aspirin tablet, 50 grams of wine, frozen wine, 7 drops of mouthwash, 1 drop of young girl's blood. Also, there was a postscript. Be strict about the dosage. After studying the recipe, she got down to business. She found all the required components and began to measure out the necessary amounts. But after counting out 25 drops of lotion, the girl lost her count. That's me anytime I have to read anything. When I'm in the kitchen making a recipe and it's just like 2 tablespoons of this, 2 tablespoons of that, I always have to look back, and it is infuriating. No, I'm going to make it anew. What happened to her eye? Oh, yeah, I'd be stressing if the wolf was behind me watching. In spite of the fact the girl was young, she was very responsible and honest. She poured the bad mixture out, washed the bowl clean, and this time measured every dosage component extra carefully. Wolf lapped everything up and licked the bowl spotless. The beast thanked Red Riding Hood, led her to the path, and even escorted her to the house. In the end, he asked her name and ran away. Red Riding Hood changed her mind about visiting Granny because she had no pastries and was too tired of everything she had been through. Well, she's at the house now, so why would she even bother going? A miraculous outcome. 7 years have passed. One fine day, a stallion from across the ocean stopped by the house of like a horse? Stopped by the house of Red Riding Hood and her mother. A seahorse. A divinely handsome prince who was the enchanted wolf dismounted. He asked Red Riding Hood for something to eat to break the ice. A meal was offered to him and his stallion. By this time, Red Riding Hood had turned into a beautiful lass. While the prince was drinking tea, Red Riding Hood looked at him with curiosity. Something seemed very familiar about him. All of a sudden, the prince looked right into her eyes and said, "Marry me." The prince's eyes were bright blue. Now Red Riding Hood remembered where she had saw those eyes. They soon married and lived happily ever after. Ending. Miraculous outcome. I like this story, the girl yawned. Finally, her brother thought, a little more, and then she'll fall asleep. That was a pretty good ending. But maybe I'll do one more, and then I'll move on to the cat quest. After thinking a little, her brother began to tell a new story. His little Red Riding Hood. Everyone loved her. She got a hat for her birthday. They said it was a hood, but it was just a hat, so she was a bit upset. The neighbors would say, "That's not a hood." Her mother decided to make some pastries. So the wolf the fish made the wolf sick. It liked the cabbage. I'm gonna go with apples again. And this time, Red Riding Hood can take them. Why don't you take your pastries to your grandmother and some butter? Okay, Mum. She took the basket. Oh, wait. The eyes. Last time I lessened it, but this time I am going to build some muscle and drag these down the road. And she did not see birds, bees, clouds, or the sun. She didn't care about the weather. It made her break into a sweat when suddenly she met the wolf. She almost bumped into the wolf because she was concentrating on her load. When she stopped, she immediately realized the basket. Bang. Bang. The basket fell onto the ground like a boulder. The wolf gazed in astonishment at the sweaty, puffing girl who was red like a beetroot. "Hello, child. What is your name and where are you going?" After recovering her breath, she replied, "My name is Red Riding Hood. I'm going to see my grandmother and bring her presents." The wolf could not help but ask, "Why did you take so much if you could hardly walk?" "I guess I miscalculated my strength." "Maybe you could eat a few pastries?" asked Red Riding Hood with hope in her voice. "No." The wolf scrunched up his muzzle after sniffing the pastries. "I can't eat that. I don't want that." "Too bad," sighed the little girl. "By the way, where does your grandmother live?" The wolf had nearly forgotten to ask. "Here, by the edge of the forest, not so far." With an abrupt spurt, she lifted the basket off the ground and dragged herself further while grumbling something, and the wolf ran to the grandmother's house. The wolf ran on the shortcut road. While running through the forest, the predator spotted the woodcutters. This time I'm gonna take the risk and run past. Oh no! Well, it looks like it was just bowled over. The wolf did not want to pass around. He had hoped to slip through fast, but failed. One of the men saw him. "Guys, look, a wolf!" he cried. Everyone looked in that direction, and the woodcutter was pointing. "Indeed," answered another woodcutter. "Take him, lads!" The woodcutters began chasing the grey predator. The wolf realized he had been spotted and ran with all of his strength. Suddenly, the wolf noticed an axe pierced the tree beside him with a clanging sound. It was his pursuers. They saw the wolf was getting away and began throwing axes like tomahawks. But everyone missed the target. If the wolf was a man, he would probably mentally thank God for his escape. But because he was a beast, he just hid under the bushes with a wildly beating heart. A few hours later, look at this. Grandma. Oh, she must have said something real fucking dumb. Because Red Riding Hood is rolling her eyes so hard. After a few hours, Red Riding Hood could hardly move her feet as she approached her grandmother's house. Pulling all of her remaining strength together, she climbed on the porch and almost hung upon the door. Who is that? Who is that? Asked the old lady in a weak voice. It's your granddaughter, answered the exhausted Red Riding Hood. Open up, she breathed out, hoping that her grandmother would let her in. Together they could pull the basket into the house. But the old lady said, Pull the string, my dear, and the door will open. Nobody knows what Red Riding Hood thought at that moment, because she was too young. What? The girl finally went home to sleep after leaving the basket and the pot of butter and listening to a 3-hour health report from her grandmother. Yeah, that's where the eye rolls come. Her grandmother was eating pastries with butter, and the wolf fell asleep after the stress. Ending deserved rest. Telling it wrong. Well, I'm sorry, little girl, but it's time for sleep. I've told you so many Red Riding Hood stories. No, that's enough of that. Oh. Save? Why would I want to save? I'll save it. Okay. Load. Wait. Okay, quit. Quit. Yeah, a bit of fun. Failed to launch. Dismiss. Alright. I'm just gonna have a quick coffee break. Just one minute or two. And I will be back with Cat Quest. Let's update that. Quest. There we go. Done. Alright, I will be back shortly. Please enjoy some chill music.